What's up, traders? Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol TKAT for Takung art. On the left-hand side, we do have the daily time frame, and on the right-hand side, the 30-minute intraday time frame. First things first, this will, of course, be an update. We have some really old and outdated levels on this chart. If I do something like this, you can see those in place. No longer really important. We're going to clear that drawing set, and we should talk about the elephant in the room. Huge volume coming into the stock on today's session. There was no company-specific news, but obviously, on social media, the stock was trending. Now, because this is in the NFT space, I think it's worth mentioning as well that if you take a look at Bitcoin, so /BTC here, on Thinkorswim, it's not like Bitcoin had a trending day higher, okay? So it's not like the crypto market's driving this. We can even look at ETH for Ether. This one also did not really produce any significant bounce on today's session. So the fact that, TKAT is starting to trend higher on a crypto market that didn't trend higher is just sort of perplexing. And again, it just goes back to say that, when something like this with a low float gets trending on social media, you're going to get these weird pops every now and then. People are like, oh, look, it has to be a short squeeze, right? If the stock's going lower, all the shorts are going to get squeezed. Well, not necessarily, but, when people are interested, the retail side at least, they have the opportunity, because there's a low float here, to push the stock price higher, right? So to me, that's kind of what's been going on today's session. And again, it's not being backed by a solid move in the crypto space. Let's go ahead and just give ourselves a daily roadmap. So coming in and pointing out the most obvious areas of support and resistance here on the daily time frame chart. Then we'll talk more nuance as we drill down to the 30-minute intraday time frame. So these are the obvious levels that I'm seeing that could potentially be in play. I would also start to argue that this maybe, again, depending on the amount of retail activity we get into tomorrow's session, maybe it's like this into the end of the week. Again, I would doubt it. I'm not saying that that's a likely scenario. It's just levels I would want to be aware of, right? So 835, 662, and obviously today's highs were closer to about 550. And please don't take this as me saying the stock has to do that. I want to be abundantly clear about that. I'm just saying that those are the technical levels, and you saw me pick them out, right? Where I would want to know, hey, there's resistance here, right? If the stock does continue to go higher. As of right now, because we're in a firm downtrend, because we're right at the 50 SMA, because we're at a horizontal area of resistance as well from here, I would start to be a little bit skeptical, right? Unless volume can far surpass what we saw on today's session. So meaning, in tomorrow's trading day, let's see what we got on today's session. So 28.2 million shares went through on today's session. If we can get more than that, so I would say north of like 40 million shares on the daily bar, then yeah, there's potential for follow through. But if people lose interest here, then I really wouldn't watch for this to get any higher than this area of resistance, which we came running into firmly on today's session, right? 50 SMA and horizontal area here, 550, also just a psychological number. Zooming into the 30-minute time frame chart, this is where things get a little bit more interesting, right? Because we do technically have a healthy bull flag here. If I come in with our fibs from low to high, what you'll notice is that the consolidation was fantastic up and over that 38.2. You can see from in here, but in the post market, we are slightly lower, right? We're trading 490, so literally right kind of at this area here by 487. So it's all going to boil down to this tomorrow. It's very, very simple, right? If we come in with a horizontal level, we'll throw that on where the 38.2 is. We'll clean up the fibs to make it easier on the eyes. Here we go with our scenarios. If we open above the pivot, and the pivot is going to be this 490 area, then fine. Look for continued consolidation. If volume comes in to support the move higher, then fine. Breakouts up and over 550 could take us closer to 662, and then we know we have that 835, correct? And again, in terms of volume and what would need to be happening, I would say 30-minute bars need to be printing at least 3 million shares per 30-minute bar on a regular, consistent basis. So you'd want to see things like this out of the gates tomorrow morning on, the early Thursday session. That's what would really support and make the upside move unfold. If we fall underneath that 491 and volume's lackluster, so volume's like this, sort of trickling back off down to nothing, then that's where you just run far away. You don't want to get involved in this to the long side, noting that we're failing the bull flag. People are losing interest. There's no volume. I would suspect a move back down to 450. From there, maybe that's a place where there's a pullback entry. We get a break retest. So be on the lookout for 450. If hammer candles start to print down here on the 30-minute time frame, if we get indecision down here, then maybe there's a possibility that there's a long over the high highs just for a scalp up into this 491, the low end of the flag, the 38.2, and then maybe the highs, right? That's only if volume comes in to support the move. But underneath 450, yeah, you probably don't want to be involved. It's coming back down closer to the floor at 368. If we come on over to the trade tab, what you'll notice is that it's obviously not going to be shortable. There's none to borrow. There's no options chain here either. So you're just going to avoid it. You're not going to try to short it. There's only long opportunities here inside of TKAT. So that's really going to wrap up the video. Please be skeptical. Please keep a very close eye on volume. Hopefully I hit that home. It's really going to be your driver on whether or not this continues to run or sees more of an aggressive pullback. So that's going to wrap up the video. If you enjoyed it or learned anything new today, let me know in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description. And all of that being said, I wish you a green trading week.